Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the It Doesn't Matter podcast. We've got myself, Strap Facts. We've got Poppy Platino. We've got BDC. We've got the host of the show, the notorious one, Dom. Boom. But before we get to our main topic of the show, we'd like to give a social shout out to our podcast partner of recent times. We're going to shout out to the Golden Owl, an independent bookstore in downtown New London on Golden Street. But don't forget to mark your calendars because on Saturday, June 21st, it's going to be Make Music Day in New London. Let's ring in the summer with a worldwide day of music. Launched in 1982 in France as the Fête de la Musique. Make Music is celebrated on the same day in more than 2,000 cities and dozens of countries around the world, and it's completely different from a typical musical festival. Make Music is open to anyone who wants to take part. Every kind of musician, young and old, amateur and professional, of every musical persuasion, they pour out onto the streets, the parks, the plazas, and the porches to share their music with friends, neighbors, and strangers. All of it is free and open to the public. Once again, Make Music Day in downtown New London, Saturday, June 21st. To register, please visit newlondon.makemusicday.org. That's newlondon.makemusicday.org. Saturday, June 21st, Make Music Day, downtown New London. We welcome everyone. Now,
that sounds like a blast.
On to the show. The It Doesn't Matter podcast. The It Doesn't Matter podcast this week. Our topic is the ultimate warrior. And this topic was chosen by our very own BDC. BDC, why did you choose the ultimate warrior as this week's It Doesn't Matter show podcast?
Hold on, I'm gonna take over for this. This is the reason why. It's because all the stars and all the warriors. You gave me all the power from the skies and the clouds. I don't know where I'm getting it, but all the power from the moon. Yes. Ah.
I must have just been drunk. I don't know. No, seriously. Seriously, no. I picked Warrior because,
I'm drunk right now.
His career inside the ring has been just as interesting as his career outside of it. And I remember in the 90s when there was a whole bunch of stories about him outside of the ring between his first and second WWE run, between his WWE run and WCW and everything in between, things like Warrior University, things like that. All this stuff going on, never really knowing why he left the first time and subsequently came back and then was not even there that long the second time, and how he only managed to be in WCW for 3 whole matches. All of it just seems very odd. So I figured I would pick him and see if it would help kind of dive in to figure out what this whole story is about. Ultimately he comes back to the WWE. He gets put into the Hall of Fame. We were in New Orleans, and I was on the flight. Headed home, and as soon as I got home, found out he had passed away when he landed back in Arizona, and so that was the reason why I chose him today.
Well, that's our show, guys. We will see you next week.
Man, try getting a new format over on the show. It's impossible.
All right, let's talk about the Ultimate Warrior. The first time I seen the Ultimate Warrior, it was on the cover of the WrestleMania 6 DVD, VHS videotape. That's when he went against my man Hulk Hogan, and we had the Ultimate Challenge. You have Warrior posing like this, you have Hogan flexing like this, and it was supposed to be title for title, which it really wasn't. But anyways, the first time I seen Ultimate Warrior, watching this, Warrior running full speed. He had the the lime fluorescent green like I have on right now, the face paint, the big bushy hair, and then Jim Johnston's Ultimate Warrior theme song.
Yep.
It was amazing, and that always stuck out to me as a kid. So I'm gonna ask you, BDC, want to kick it off with you first. What was your first impression and seeing the Ultimate Warrior?
It was weird because when I first saw him, I was like, "This dude's a hulking beast." It's like this dude is just ridiculous. It was like at the time Hogan was really big, and yet here comes Ultimate Warrior, and Ultimate Warrior is just this colossus. He's just ripped and he's jacked and he's got the tassels on his arms and he's got the tassels on his boots and the face paint and all this stuff like that. And like he could just run in the ring and just nonstop energy from the time he gets in the ring to the time that match was over, literally. Um, so I think I literally saw him the first time, or I remember him the first time was probably around when he started getting into things with Taker and Jake the Snake and stuff like that. That's when I remember him. He was there years before that. Apparently, he was there like '87. I don't remember all of that, but that was when I really kind of keyed in on him because, of course, I'm a big Taker guy here. So that's when I kind of got into him really at that point. And then, of course, he just blew up on everybody after WrestleMania 6 after he took Hogan down and became a double champ.
Warrior's the man. They say he didn't sell. He did sell. He sold a lot. Do you remember when Papa Shango put the voodoo on him and he started selling?
Yeah. Do you remember he was sitting there and the black ooze just started pouring down his face from his forehead? So,
Yep.
I mean, that was stuff that wasn't nobody else doing that. Yeah, it was just like he's like with no offense to anyone who loved Warrior, dude had horse teeth in the front and top of his head. Sorry, his teeth was huge. But he's sitting there like this, and all of a sudden, just black ooze is just coming down his face. Shit was crazy. Yeah, I mean that was like really my first thing I really remember. I know he had feuds with Rick Rude and others, but I open the floor to Fax since and he's back now. To Strap, what is your first memory of Warrior if you have one?
Ultimate Warrior was always someone who, like, I kind of knew. I mean, like I said, my fandom was kind of there. I mean, I was aware of, like, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. I remember going to Stop and Shop, and the only action figures they had was Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper. But Ultimate Warrior, it's like I kind of remember him as a kid. Like I remember Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake Roberts. I just kind of remember him and that color scheme that was so 90s. The neon green and the pink, still my favorite color scheme today. And if anyone asks, my favorite color is hot pink. And to show you the example, look at the Ultimate Warrior poster from that WrestleMania 6 VHS, right?
Yes, boy.
There's a video delay here. Sorry, I'm like, no one's yes boying anybody. So that was that, and my more formative times in wrestling. This was the WrestleMania 12, and he was making his comeback and return, and I really believed it. I mean, I didn't have any scope of what time was at that time, and Jerry Lawler on commentary saying, "I heard he got real fat, McMahon."
On his return.
I was like, man, he's gonna come out fat and whatever, and not looking
of course he did.
ripped. And of course he comes out, he's running to the ring, he's all jacked, the same as he ever was. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's the Ultimate Warrior. So it was great that he made a return during my first full year of being a modern, fan all the way up to the modern day. Was that return at WrestleMania 12? So there you go.
All right, Platinum, what about you? What's your favorite, or what's your first moment seeing Ultimate Warrior? What are your thoughts on him?
Same as you, brother. WrestleMania 6, that iconic match, probably, if not one of his best matches, top 2 of his best matches he's ever had. I love the color scheme, as you said as well, John. That color scheme is still iconic to this day for me. He's always had all these bright colors and different kind of color schemes that I was just like, oh, that makes... It's not what I would wear, but it makes sense. I mean, he's different. It's the running that got me, and the music. I think that's probably one of the best Jim Johnson's music of all time. Probably top tier, in my opinion. he's had a lot of good stuff with the Stone Cold and I can't really tell all of that stuff because I really don't follow like every music they made. But between Stone Cold, Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, he's got some iconic stuff too. So thank you, Jim Johnson, for giving us the music to a character that I fell in love with. First of all, but I don't know if it was like the whole tassels thing back in the day, but that era between him, Mach, I think Texas Tornado had him too as well.
Yep.
That was completely different from what other people would have. I mean, I think Tatanka would have that. So he'd be one of those guys I'd actually follow and I like for some reason. But yeah, his charisma was undeniable. It's crazy. There's certain guys that just walk in a room and you're just like, I don't know that person. He's got something. Something about him just draws you into him. So
yep,
it's what they say right now. You either got it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't teach that.
How you doing? All right. Well, you said that Macho Man and Warriors were one of your top 2 matches.
I would say him and Hogan and Mach and Warrior as well.
All right, but what would you say your favorite Warrior match? What would that be?
I gotta go with Hogan and Warrior. It's so iconic to me. I still remember it to this day. I know the Mach one was a little bit better in my opinion, but the Hogan one, it was just. I was a fan of both guys. It really made you like want to. You had to really choose who to go for. The ultimate hero for so many years for kids was Hulk Hogan. You know, a lot of kids weren't turning their back on him, but not me. I turned heel. I went with the Gorilla Press Slam and that stupid body splash.
I have to agree. That WrestleMania 6 match between Hogan and Warrior, that's definitely one of my favorite matches. That's one of the matches that really got me into wrestling. Just that visual alone, the two number 1 and 2 guys in the company at that time, and it definitely stood out. It was the passing of the torch, and
well, it should have been the passing of the torch for many years, but unfortunately, we know what happened. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Yeah, if you rewatch that match, you see Warrior, and he's blowing up, and he's challenging Hogan to take it home, but
it's too early for that, brother.
Hogan's like, it's too early, brother. We don't do that over here, brother. We gotta sell. So it was pretty good, and yeah, that's probably one of my favorite Warrior matches of all time. Hogan Warrior 1.
Yep.
So Strap Fact, what about you?
You know, it's really hard to come up with any alternative answer because there probably isn't a correct one. You know, that's his best and only match. You could put the arguments there for if you like the Macho Man match better, or if Rick Rude was his opponent. Rick Rude arguably did the most to get something out of the Ultimate Warrior, so that could also be in the conversation. But what else is there? He didn't really have any meaningful, lengthy matches with anyone, and it's like just name his opponents. I mean, that's why scouring Peacock for WWF Superstars matches. I watched a handful. I tried, him and Skinner. Okay. Him and one of the Nasty Boys. Well, he wrestled Brian Knobbs. And, and talking about selling, yeah, he sold in that match because, 2 guys the Nasty Boys were beating him down. And he had an angle, later on there. He had matches with Papa Shango, but I don't recall seeing a full match. I mean, it was probably in one of those house shows that untelevised and things like that.
Yeah, that was more theatrics. That was more theatrics in the promos than the actual matches themselves.
Same thing with wrestling the Undertaker, Honky Tonk Man, in the Invader. Ultimate Warrior actually did wrestle Vader on a house show. It was just a quick thing because allegedly Vader still had a bad shoulder and couldn't work long. So imagine Vader being the big bad booty daddy wrestling Hulk Hogan at Super Brawl just a year prior, and now he's jobbing to the Warrior in 30 seconds in Uniondale, New York.
So Vader got a bad shoulder. You gonna put him with the Warrior?
That was a bad idea. that was a real bad idea.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I mean, you talk about his third WWF run, the 1996 one. He probably wrestled Owen Hart a bunch. Vader, Goldust. He wrestled. He wrestled Jerry Lawler at the King of the Ring. Did I say Goldust already? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not much to say, but that it's good that the Hogan Warrior 1 match was fantastic. So he has that. He has had a great match in his legacy.
Well, I gotta say, the only reason that match was so good is one man and one man alone, Patrick Patterson, the greatest Finnish guy in all of pro wrestling history. Regardless of whatever allegations and whatever whatnots backstage, that man knew how to finish the story the right way. So
That's what Tony Atlas said. He touched my pecker. He finished the story, Tony. He finished the story. All right, well, BDC, what's your favorite match of Ultimate Warrior?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go with the group. I mean, you could easily say, oh yeah, it was Warrior and Macho, but I really think if you really look at that match, the actual match becomes secondary to everything that happened afterwards. With Miss Elizabeth kind of running down and jumping on Sensational Sherry when she jumped on Macho after he lost. So I really think that the match itself was cool, but the secondary action that happened afterward became the main focus of the match and ended up being a better moment than the match itself. But yeah, Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, forget it. I mean, at the time, these were your two biggest acts in WWF, and they were going for title, which was unheard of at that point. And I mean, also you're looking at, this was the first time that somebody straight did a nope on the leg drop, because that leg drop hit everybody until Warrior was just like, nah, I'm good, and just moved out the way. And Hogan jumped extra high to land on his ass, which was hilarious. So, I mean, that will always be legendary. The fact that he was the literally first guy to not necessarily kick out of the leg drop, but he certainly made sure he didn't get hit with the leg drop. And it was like when you saw him go up and you saw him come down and it was nothing there, you just knew Warriors taking it at that point. You just knew it, and it just happened. It just all went down shortly thereafter.
Yeah, well, everybody knows that they tried to make Warrior the next Hogan, and obviously it didn't work out whatsoever. But do you think that Warrior had a little bit of potential? Do you think he had the chance to be the next Hogan if he didn't let, his backstage shenanigans get the best of him?
He definitely had to look for it. His promo style was very interesting. And I think at the time they were big on having guys who can do it in the ring and also do it on the mic. I mean, it's kind of still that way now. And I mean, he really, as I said, his promo style was interesting. And, he can kind of go off on a tangent or kind of go a little awry. And I think if it was a case, if he shored that up, then maybe, yeah. But as he was currently constructed, with the promo style he had, I don't think he would have pushed up unless they literally made him somebody who just didn't talk and just did it all in the ring.
Strap, what do you think?
Well, I don't think any backstage politics or shenanigans had anything to do with it. It was, I mean, maybe you could summarize it in that manner. But I think one major problem was that there were no opponents for the Ultimate Warrior. They didn't build anyone up for him to wrestle. Who would he wrestle? Mr. Perfect? Here he beat him. Rick Rude, he already beat him too. At least Rick Rude had a win over the Ultimate Warrior. Macho Man was allegedly not around during 1990 due to injuries. But who else was there? I mean, there's that problem again that we have where there's a gap between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, where we don't know what happened because there's no footage, there's no television, there's no pay-per-views of that time period, unless you're digging really, really deep. And most of us just have Peacock, and that's it. So there's just a lack of opponents. It wasn't like, there wasn't a Karrion Kross waiting in the wings to fight him who was on his way out. There wasn't Drew McIntyre waiting in the wings. I'm not using modern guys, but that's what I can think of right Who else was it? Dino Bravo, Andre the Giant, Haku. No,
Virgil.
Virgil, the $1 Million Man. Ultimate Warrior already ran through all these guys, so he just had no one left.
Virgil. Definitely Virgil. Virgil would have been that guy. Virgil would have been that guy to put him over. It would have been the brawl for it all. Virgil and the Ultimate Warrior, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
Soul Train Jones.
And at the time, Hulk Hogan was irreplaceable. I just watched this. It wasn't exactly the Netflix Toys That Made Us. It was some different version of that kind of show, and they're detailing the histories of the Transformers toys versus GoBots. If anyone remembers GoBots, you shouldn't because they sucked, right? But GoBots actually came out first. According to this show, GoBots came out first. They actually had the name Transformers first, but they chose not to use it. They decided to go with GoBots. And, this is kind of a reversal, but, GoBots was mildly successful until the Transformers came out. And then Transformers just blew them out of the water, and eventually GoBots just disappeared. And, so Transformers was like Hulk Hogan, and Ultimate Warrior was like GoBots. It was like he was there, he had some success, but he just wasn't as good and as big as the Transformers, as the Hulk Hogan. And some fans would see it that way, even though Warrior was supposed to be all about the 90s, the man of the 90s. Man, can you imagine that? Warrior making rain from 90 to 99. Stone Cold.
Oh man.
Oh boy, man, that would. Whew.
So, but
my bad. I was gonna say, can you compare Warrior's name to like a Hogan, Macho Man, and Sting, like all in the same conversation?
I think you can.
The name you said.
Never mind his body of work. Never mind his body of work. His aura, his presence was just as main event level superstar versus Bret Hart having an almost 5-star match. So Bret Hart can be a superstar having a great wrestling match, and Ultimate Warrior can be a great main event superstar just on his entrance and music and appearance. And it's not a magical thing. It doesn't work for everybody. Lex Luger. It does not. It doesn't work for everyone.
Lars Sullivan.
The formula doesn't. It's not copy and paste. People are special. Jim Hellwig was special, not
right.
Rick the Renegade. Right. You're just Rick.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like that Warrior formula ended up falling. It ended up falling to Goldberg. It literally did, because it was the music. The guy, he didn't come down to the ring running 100 miles an hour, but the moment he got in the ring, you knew he wasn't getting paid by the hour. You knew that.
Nope.
And that was Warrior for you. Warrior could have stretches where he could have a pretty longer match, but we always wonder, okay, if he has a longer match, is he just gonna like die in the middle of the ring because he's just on 100 from the time he comes out the back? So as I said, Goldberg's he's a little more reserved. He doesn't do all the running and stuff like that, but the blueprint is still the same. Go out to the ring, fuck shit up in less than a minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3, and then walk in, then walk away. And it worked.
I kind of agree with you on that. Goldberg was a little bit more athletic than Warrior was, at least from what we've seen, especially with that was it Muay Thai or whatever, judo or whatever he did.
Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu. That added to his element that we hadn't seen before from anybody at that time. It was more realistic. Basically, wrestling was turning into a real life characters. They weren't playing these characters that like a Warrior, Hogan. You were getting guys with their real names and real attributes that they distributed. Is Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, one of the most special guys of his time? Absolutely. If you go back from the late 80s into the early 90s, hands down top 10, one of the most charismatic, the aura itself, he's up there. You got Hogan, Mach, Flair, Warrior, Sting, even Lex. Yes, even Lex. But WCW Lex, not WWF Lex. There's a whole stew of people that you got there, and it doesn't work for everybody. It's very difficult. You can't just be all entrance in music nowadays. Nowadays, people see through that. They want the full character, and it's probably one of the reasons why people still give Seth Rollins a lot of BS. He's all music, somewhat aura, great matches, but what is his vision? His actual architect?
Right.
You
Yeah.
want to know? Ask Patrick Clark.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that tirade. My God.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy because
He's
one of the
another
things.
one.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
charismatic. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, things happen.
Yeah, but probably one of the most charismatic characters we've seen in the past 10 years. Yeah. The Dream.
You know that wrestling chant that fans be saying? But you fucked up. There you go. You fucked up your career. That's his problem.
I hope he gets it together, man. But I don't know. From what I've seen, it's not gonna happen.
You know it's bad when AEW don't sign
no.
you. He's fucked up.
Yeah, at this point, no. I think. He's
Nick
done as
Nemeth
far
is
as
fucked
the
up. You're
career
right. AEW don't
Here
need
to
to go anywhere near
Here to
that
show the
loser.
world. Here to show the world, huh? But
He's here to show his mother.
Patrick Clark really is one of those guys that's just charismatic to the T, man. Just like, Jesus, where do you get that from? But
he got over on his own. That was the crazy thing about it.
Yes.
And he just blew it for some allegations, and then yeah, he just running his mouth. I'm gonna ruin wrestling for all y'all. I'm like, why? Because you fucked up. It's a bitch move right there.
Seems a lot of people want to ruin wrestling for us these days. Yeah, but one of the things I will say about Warrior before I guess we move on, we talk about him having the look. It is very weird for a guy to have a look that's very similar to another look and still stand out. And like we mentioned earlier, him and Texas Tornado looked very, very similar. And the Von Erichs were already a well-known name in the wrestling business. So now you're coming in and you kind of look like the Texas Tornado. You kind of look like Kerry Von Erich, but you now have to build your brand off of that while looking like somebody who's kind of already over for his own reasons, and people are already looking at you like, "Oh, you're not Kerry Von Erich." But he did that.
The Warrior was in WWFE before Kerry Von Erich, so
but I think they all ran in the same territories down in Texas with Fritz, and that's why.
And you remember when Warrior first started out, he was more
Dingo Warrior.
When he was Dingo, he was more. He wasn't doing the whole teased up,
did he have
highlighted hair
accent?
And
he put some shrimp on the barbie.
No, he wasn't doing the whole. He wasn't doing the whole teased up hair and the super tan and all that. He wasn't doing all of that when he first got in there. That kind of came on around the time that Kerry Von Erich came in. So it was just like, okay, when we're looking at two guys that look very similar. But I mean, it's still a bit to get over when they can call you a cookie cutter because you look so much like somebody else who's already there.
Yep. So you have the modern day Warrior, which is Kerry Von Erich, and then Vince. You got the Ultimate Warrior. And if you want to know the difference between the Ultimate Warrior and Kerry Von Erich, is look at Kerry's leg.
It's too low because it's the bottom of his leg.
It's an upper body business dom. We don't worry about minuscule legs.
No, it just shows that Bruce Pritchard is a liar because on the DVD he was like, "Oh, we can't name Dingo Warrior." You know, he named just like you said. He's losing the timeline here. He's like, "Well, we already had Kerry Von Erich." Like, you did not have Kerry Von Erich yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, just making up.
What Survivor Series was it? The Warriors team is Ultimate Warrior, the modern day Warrior, Kerry Von Erich. And
Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors. That's a badass tag team that none of them are alive. That's crazy.
It's
and
the crazy thing is Hawk and Animal were not to be fucked with either.
Animal lasted a while.
Yeah.
So,
but Hawk was that dude, man. Should have had a run with the title.
What title?
The
Not
24/7.
I was like, what title are you talking about?
WCW, baby. WCW.
In Abel's E Federation, Hawk is the World Wrestling Federation champion.
Oh my lord!
WCW,
You want to check out the Hawk
baby.
match? Check out Hawk and Big Bubba Rogers on the WCW Nitro podcast.
Oh man.
Talk
Oh,
about
that match.
that.
No
Oh,
bueno.
man. All right. Well, I
Yeah,
want to
the
take it to 19. I want to take it to 1996 right quick. So we got the new generation. Vince is tired of these old heads still lingering around in the company, and he want to go the younger route. Why did he bring back the Ultimate Warrior?
That's what I'm still trying to figure that out, because it's like, if you're really gonna go the whole direction, I know a lot of times it's just like in football, you want to have a couple veterans with the rookies, especially like that old guard where they're really just getting ready to just retire and just show the guys the ropes. Maybe there was something there. I mean, Warrior would always be the type of guy that can sell tickets just because of his name alone, but he wasn't really going to do any favors for anybody as far as from I've seen. And I don't know what Vince was thinking at that time, to be honest. But like I said, if you're building a team, you got some young guys you're going to draft from the league, from the college. Those are the guys you're going to want to, build up for your future. You got your veterans that should be starting and, showing the young guys the ropes. And then you got that old guard that's just getting ready to just walk out. They're on the bench. They're still showing the veterans how to, carry the team going. But they're the ones that are going to basically move over from being the superstars to the agents. But that's the way I would build the roster.
Well, could it possibly be that the reason that he brought Warrior back in was because he knew that WCW was trying really hard to get the Warrior back, get the Warrior over there on their side?
Yeah, there was a bidding war at those times. There was only.
I mean, they literally created the Renegade to be Warrior Light.
Stupid.
So
Think about it. At that time, and when you say, John, when you say Warrior came out, was it like late 95, early 96? Like
No,
fall
it was
time or so?
WrestleMania 12.
Oh, so that's when he did come back. All right.
Yeah.
March of 96 in WCW, there was no NWO yet. None of that talk yet.
Listen. Razor Ramon and Diesel were on their way out. They're going to the competition. Eric Bischoff also wanted to sign the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior was a former WWF champion. That meant something at that time. There's only a handful of those guys at that time, and Sergeant Slaughter. So he wanted to bring back a name, a guy who could draw, or he wanted to take it away from his competition. So that's why he brought the Ultimate Warrior back. It's really not that hard to figure out, guys. That's it. He was a main eventer.
I just thought about it. Could Warrior have been the third man? God.
He could have, I guess, but he's probably under a non-compete.
It wouldn't have been
It's possible,
it wouldn't have been the same, but
yeah, it
can you
certainly
imagine that?
Because you're talking about now WCW's Golden Boy, because Hogan was Golden Boy there. So
Yeah.
So you're talking about the NWO. If Warrior comes to WCW to join NWO, I don't think NWO has nearly the foothold that it gains if Warrior takes it versus Hogan.
And
There's
Warrior be the mouthpiece of NWO as a heel?
No.
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
That
The
was,
mouthpiece.
not.
that was going to be Ted DiBiase anyway. That was his original role. And, I thought of this the other night. I mean, I did not mention, maybe I mentioned to this show here, but in July of 96, both promotions had 6-man main event pay-per-views. Bash at the Beach, NWO versus Team WCW, and on the WWF side, Camp Cornette, Vader, the Bulldog, and Owen versus Ahmed Johnson, Shawn Michaels, and what was supposed to be the Ultimate Warrior was actually Psycho Sid. I just thought that was interesting. That no one's ever brought that up before. I'm like, that is very interesting. Both had 6-man main events for their pay-per-views.
And it would have been Warrior had he not started no showing events leading up to that event.
Which is
his dad died like 4 times.
Yeah,
Even though
Vince
he
called,
didn't have a good relationship with him.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Vince called bullshit. It was like, he ain't seen the man in 10 years, but he missed me with the bullshit.
The one when he said, He didn't want to. He didn't want to get cut, so he wore a baseball cap. I remember that shit when who was it? Jerry King Lawler's gonna hit him with the portrait.
Yeah.
You gotta check out the Self Destruction Ultimate Warrior to hear that insight right there.
I remember when that
man.
DVD first came out, bro. Ooh, I think you
Yeah.
you was like, yo, they got a DVD about Warrior, and we were excited. And I'm like, Self Destruction of Ultimate Warrior. What the hell
Pop
was
that
this?
in the PS2.
Woo wee.
Yeah,
That was a good
that's
night.
the
We were just
time.
like, damn.
That's a time.
WWE was not playing with him. They're like, no, screw you. You want to talk BS on us? No.
It was
We got
an,
something
it
for
was
that
an
ass.
example. It was a sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that Bret Hart would make a positive DVD the following year. That was the warning shot. Play along, or we're gonna bury you.
Come on, Hitman. Come on.
They're gonna do
Tell
that talking
everybody
heads.
it was a work.
They're gonna do the talking heads thing. Sergeant Slaughter, we need you to say one positive thing about Bret Hart or the Ultimate Warrior. Good. Now we need you to say something negative about the Ultimate Warrior and Bret Hart. Go.
Yes. All right. So they came out with the Self Destruction Ultimate Warrior DVD, the documentary. And do you think at this time that they try to ruin his legacy to show how the man really was?
Yeah, I think when you're out online or wherever you're at and you're shitting on a company that made you millions of dollars, and then you're still probably trying to negotiate things behind closed doors, it's kind of like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, I thought we had a truce or something. But the wrestling business is a business, no matter what we say and feel. I mean, did we get worked with our truth? Maybe. I don't want to know. I don't care. It was a beautiful story as far as I'm concerned. But don't go around and shitting on a company that made you millions and millions of dollars and put you on the map when you really weren't like a big name, to be honest. You were the Dingo Warrior. You were just Jim Hellwig, one of the Blade Runners with Sting. It didn't make a lot of money. Was it charismatic? Yes. Jim Hellwig was one of the most charismatic guys we've ever seen hit TV. But yeah, you just, especially a big company like that, Vince is not playing that. Especially when he probably took good care of him and let a lot of things slide with him.
He was not acting in the faith of distrucity that he created.
Strap, what do you think?
I don't know what distrucity is.
Oh,
Word
I
of
can
the
tell
day.
you about it if
Just
you want.
kidding.
Word.
Yes.
Word of the day.
The word of the day, distrucity.
Like, listen, I'm like, you can make your millions, you can make your money with your employer, but they can still do things that you find dishonorable or undeserved, and then you could, even though you worked there many years, you can still not like them, your employer, for many reasons, and something anyone can relate to. So, don't hold the grudge against the Ultimate Warrior not liking Vince McMahon and the WWF forever now.
Right.
But yeah, the Ultimate Warrior, that self-destruction DVD. I'd still watch it today. It's very entertaining, even if they're burying the guy.
It is.
But yeah, his run there was really short. He started the Warrior University training school, and he also had a Warrior comic book that I got the first issue of, and I kept going back to Sarge's Comics in downtown New London, and
Still got it?
I still got them all somewhere. And looking for that next issue because it's supposed to be monthly. And I can't tell you that I did read comic books back then, but as the issues kept going, by issue 6, Warriors writing in the front cover of Warriors like, oh, I wanted to do this right, I wanted to have a monthly comic book, but the publishers blah blah blah. He started blaming other people for the comic book not coming out on time. It's kind of like, yeah. And lots of wrestlers had and the Kevin Nash had a comic book. So it was crazy.
Overrated.
Everyone's a fan of somebody.
Bobby Plotino, since season 1, still saying Kevin Nash is overrated.
There you go.
I got nothing to say to that. Just because, just listen to the latest podcast that will be released.
Who,
Or
us?
that was released when this is out.
Okay. So Ultimate Warrior disappeared for a few years once again, and he. Okay, is it okay to talk about WCW now? Hold on, John. Where are we at, Mr. Notorious One? Where can we go?
Where can we go?
Yes.
Where do you want to go?
All right. Let's go to WCW 1998.
I was going to skip that shit.
Okay. The Ultimate Warrior made his grand return to the World Wrestling Entertainment in 2013 because he was a character in the 2K series, WWE 2K14. Then they did a special thing at that time. You know, they announced someone and they started a new Legends deal with them. It started with, I don't know if it started with, Sting was the next year. But they did it with Macho Man, they did it with Warrior, they did it with Sting. So they would get them in the video game, and that was their entry point because they were not. If you got into the video game, you made a deal with 2K. You did not make a deal with the WWE. So that was Warrior doing a commercial, and then talks led to more talks, and Triple H is more of the one running the show, even though Vince is still there, still in charge mostly, but that's okay. And Warriors announced as the headliner for the best Hall of Fame of all time, the 2014 Hall of Fame in New Orleans. Here he comes, and watch as much footage as you can of him headed backstage because that DVD, as entertaining as it was, it really hurt the man. As men, they bottle things up and let things just hit them, and they don't sell. They keep going, and the Warrior was, yes. Sorry, Dom froze.
Hold on, John. Hold on, John.
Well, what the fuck, Dom? What do you want me to do? You're not giving me any goddamn direction here. What do you want me to do?
I want you to lead into it before we got you talking about him going to the Hall of Fame and whatnot. Why don't you talk about his visit in Yukon when he's talking about queering don't make the world work? How about you talking about that Iranian chick to go get a towel?
How about you let me finish and then you say, okay, before we end the show here, I'd like to bring up one more thing. John, you went to Yukon. Ultimate Warrior also went to Yukon. Let's tell you about that. How about we do it like that?
I wanted to close the show with a high note with him, in the Hall of Fame. So
there is no high note with him in the Hall of Fame. He dies. Spoiler alert, he dead. He ain't coming back no more.
Everybody's last breath.
And you, sir, are on a delay. So your voice does not match what I see on camera. It's a delay. I don't know what you're doing. Your voice doesn't match. Maybe mine doesn't match. I don't know. But if you want to go on to Yukon, yes. The Ultimate Warrior
go to Yukon. You want to Yukon, go to Yukon.
The Ultimate Warrior made Jim Hellwig, legal name Warrior, made an appearance because he was, during his time, not wrestling anymore. He was a, what do you call it? Imagine that, a motivational speaker. So he made an appearance at Yukon, and I like to say I've seen every major professional wrestler that I've ever wanted to see, except for Macho Man. I have never seen Macho Man in person or at a show or anything like that. I've seen Stone Cold.
When you get that elbow drop to Death Story.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? So I've seen Hulk Hogan. I've seen Ric Flair. Andre the Giant, way past my prime. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, whatever. I've seen them all, except Macho Man. So Ultimate Warrior, the only time I ever, well, actually, no, that's not true. The second time I would see him, the first time I would see him was at Yukon. The second time was at the Hall of Fame. But yeah, he was doing a speech, and this was in the spring of 2005. There were no smartphones, folks. There were none of that, but people still had digital cameras and things of that nature, digital video cameras, and there's some footage that exists, but rest assured, I don't have any pictures because I didn't have any of those technologies at the time. That's how old this show can be. But yeah, the most famous, he was getting heated because this is a college. It's some colleges are. They're quite a liberal college, so they're going to badger the guy based on things he's said. And yeah, the most famous line is queering don't make the world work. And he got mad, and it's like, I'm sitting like way in the back. That's just where I could sit. And he was getting mad. You were there? I was.
You heard it?
Yes. Because I have seen every professional wrestler I've ever wanted to see in history, except for the Macho Man in person. Which means I saw the Ultimate Warrior in person once. or twice. I said,
Wow, you seen this shit? That's crazy.
Yeah, I was there, and I took a screenshot. Well, there's one photo out there. I think that's me, but I can't prove it. I think that's me. This guy with Asian afro. But yeah, he was getting heated on stage. He was stomping the stage, because he's got those, the click clacky shoes. Dang, he was getting mad on stage, and typically these things you would just line up after the show and get like like a photo or something like that. Man,
Good luck with that.
it wasn't happening, man. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that really came out of it. There was a write-up about it, and his opinions were not favorable to liberal arts college. And yeah, it was very controversial, but Ultimate Warrior is a controversial fellow, so he wasn't welcome back. Unlike BDC, he'll be back, but he wasn't welcome back, the Ultimate Warrior.
Unfortunately, he was one of those guys where they say, don't meet your heroes, and oh boy, you met your hero.
I wouldn't want to meet the Ultimate Warrior in that setting. But he did many convention appearances in full costume over the years, and I just never, was it a regret? I don't know, because he died somewhat unexpectedly, so it's very sad. But that was his time at UConn.
Yeah, his speech on that Raw, it sounded like he knew something was going on with him, with his body, and he felt like something was going to happen. To sum it up, I basically just have his own promo. Basically, his essence was basically leaving himself, and he felt the power basically fading, and the stars and the moons and the light was taking away all the warrior that he can handle, and unfortunately, he needed to protect us from the skies.
Yeah, so let's get back to the Hall of Fame.
No.
Best Hall of Fame.
No.
Shut up. The best Hall of Fame that we were all in attendance to. It was
yes, indeed.
It was something special. And then that Monday night, I didn't make it to Monday Night Raw, but I was in the hotel and I watched it. And then I'm like, damn, he looked fucking stupid with that damn mask on.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Hold this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
he looked stupid with that mask on. I was like hoping, all right, maybe we get like maybe half face paint or something like that. Something, just a little tease. But it is what it is, and yeah, that next day he basically that was it. I feel like he had closure. He said his last words that he said on national TV was that every man's heart one day beats his final beat, his lung breathes their final breath, and what the man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others and makes them believe deeper in something larger than life, that his essence, his spirit will be immortalized. That was Ultimate Warrior's final words for the 2014 Monday Night Raw, day after WrestleMania.
Yeah, that dude was saying goodbye.
I'm getting chills hearing that right now, knowing what went on days later.
Yeah.
And it is so true.
Days. It wasn't even days. It was less than 12. It was less than 12 hours.
Jeez.
That's great.
He gave that speech somewhere between 9:30 and 10:30 on Monday night, and he was gone by 8-9 o'clock the next morning.
I'll never forget going to the airport that next morning. Everybody's phone just going up. What the fuck? Did you just see this? Warrior passed away. Like what?
Yeah, and like I said, I literally had touched down at the airport. He died while I was in flight. So when I touched down, I was getting the news that he had passed away. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, wait a minute.
Damn.
I was like, this dude literally got on a flight literally 2 hours before me. I was at the airport. I didn't see him. I was like, he literally got on a flight 2 hours before me, and he's died at the airport. I was like, what the hell?
He didn't even make it inside. He was in the car. Yeah, it was crazy. But he closed a lot of chapters. He hugging Vince, him and Hogan rekindled.
Yeah.
And he was a part of the WWE family again.
Mm-hmm.
the WWE made us believe that that he was a good person, and that's why he was in the Hall of Fame. But us wrestling fans, how do you think Ultimate Warrior should be remembered?
I think ultimately you do have to ignore some of the outside stuff because we're just strictly talking about wrestling itself. His presence alone really was very charismatic. It was captivating, and it made a whole generation of young men and women follow the sport of wrestling. Whether it's the music, the color schemes, the tassels, all the above, the hair, the face paint, anything that you can think of. That man ultimately got us to watch pro wrestling and to continue watching it. And it's the reason why he's one of the reasons why we actually have this podcast right now. So I'm just going to say thank you for your career, for what you did, even though it may not be as memorable as something I would compare to as a Brett or a Flair. But like you say in your promo, your last one, your essence, it truly will be immortalized forever. Fellas?
That's right. Strap, what about you, buddy?
Yeah.
If you want someone to cry at your funeral, have Poppy Platinum read the eulogy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
I'll be the one crying anyway. Shut up.
that whole final weekend, it is remarkable. I mean, yeah, Warrior's done and posted and written and said lots of terrible things over the years, and everyone can, lots of people have, but if you believe in things like forgiveness, then you can believe that the Ultimate Warrior was reaching for that.
Yeah.
He knew his time was up somehow. I mean, you're talking about his final appearances, and I'm like, man, the dude just wrestled Orlando Jordan. Orlando Jordan like 3 years ago. I mean, he's older, but I was surprised he didn't run down to the ring, but he just stood, at WrestleMania itself. He was on stage, and he's just pounding the heart to the fans, and then that promo on Raw as well. It's just kind of like he didn't. It's like, what the hell? Where's the energy? He's not running. He's not doing anything. And no one wants to admit. No one wants to say, "Oh, I knew something was wrong with him the whole time." It's like, come on, I don't. No one.
Nobody knew.
But you see it in retrospect.
Nobody's seen him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically that night, that Monday Night Raw, he did run down to the ring, which he was in the long coat suit, stuff like that. He did run down to the ring, but it's just once he got into the ring, the energy wasn't there. It was like he wore it out running to the ring.
Check that out.
It wasn't his iconic.
It was. Yeah, that's what I said. It wasn't what we're used to. But then again, a lot of people are just going to take it like, yeah, he's older now. Do we expect him to run at 100 miles an hour down to the ring still?
Yes,
absolutely.
Like,
I ain't
absolutely not.
I went to that Hall of Fame because I expected to see this man with some long ass hair and a colorful suit.
I would have thought
that's what I wanted to see.
And you didn't get it.
Nope.
Hair short. He's a little bigger than he was. Like,
we're all gonna get
better.
The older we get.
Yeah. Look, it's already happening.
Dad bod warrior.
Dad bod's happening, whether you like it or not.
I have
Dad
a father
bod's happening.
figure, so relax.
Yeah. But yeah, his final weekend is just, you couldn't have written it better as you just call it poetic. He asked for forgiveness and he got it from everybody. Unlike the modern day Hulk Hogan, who asked forgiveness from nobody because he never did anything wrong. Did he? Did Hogan do anything wrong, guys?
No.
Nope. Not a damn thing, right?
I didn't know I was being recorded.
Oh my God.
God, we're on Riverside.
I was only protecting my daughter, brother.
Yeah, so
I was only protecting my daughter.
Stop it.
So
Stop it.
Again, Warrior, he has proof of all the bad things he said and
no money for me for that damn beer.
About the bad things he said about people and all that stuff like that. But you could again say his last weekend living was him asking for forgiveness and acceptance from a family, a universe that shunned him in his life. So, they made the Warrior Award an annual thing after that, even though it was not his intent. The WWE, they morphed it into something else. But because he's originally looking for the Jimmy Miranda Award for all the stage workers and the stage hands.
Oh my God, yeah, he was.
So, and that would never fly in real life, but he tried.
No, but I got to give him props for that because he was actually, like you said, asking for forgiveness and giving back to the guys that don't get the love that they deserve.
The jobbers.
Yeah.
Thank the jobbers.
Like you're an AV guy, John, and you know a lot of stuff about that stuff too, BDC. Like you guys, you don't get the love because you're not the guys on stage or being shown, the appreciation for what you do. But you put in all those long hours, you get the setup just right. The sound is sounding perfect, and then you got some asshole boss sometimes. Like, God damn it, turn it off. Why is that wire there? Like, hey, boss, you put it there. No, I don't want it. It's in the shot.
Yeah, it's one of those thankless jobs, like we like to call them, where you're a part of the team when it's a success, but it's all you when it fails.
Yeah.
So it was nice that he wanted to put something out there to give these guys the individual recognition that they would otherwise not get. Unfortunately,
and they never will.
Vince was never gonna let that happen because his ego will not allow him to thank the little people.
Well, he ain't in charge no more.
Well, that too. But one guy that definitely deserves it, I would say, is Charles, Little Nate. I still see him taking the ring down and doing all the extra stuff. Even at his age, he doesn't need to do that, but he still
does.
You ain't just coming out here and ref? Shoot, you better take down that turnbuckle.
Look,
he's putting the time where he don't need to be doing that shit.
And then there's Stu. Then there's Stu, the guy that runs down to the ring with John Cena all the time. Yeah, Stu. Stu definitely deserves recognition.
And the guy
that dude has put more miles on his legs over the years, following guys down the ramp.
Is that the same guy that used to throw beer to Stone Cold, or was it a different guy?
It's a different guy.
I think it was a different guy.
That's the real heel turn for John Cena. He's gonna F you, Stu the cameraman.
That would be old.
Never mind his biggest fan, R-Truth. No. Stu the cameraman.
Oh my God.
Get Stu.
Mark clip, Dom. We might need this down the road.
You heard it here first, folks.
Get Stu. If John Cena goes after Stu, strap backs. He called it first.
Right here.
Put it down on DraftKings for $5.
$500. Right here on 69 Day.
It is 69
Day. Like, all right, Stu, let's go to work.
Boom. Ah. Why are you slapping your belly when you punch me?
Oh God.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts on the Warrior?
That's true city.
There won't be another one like him. Good, bad, or indifferent, there will not be another one like him. Just no way in hell. That mold was obliterated with him. There will not be another like him.
Hey John, who was that top independent wrestler AEW brought on TV like the first year with the face paint on? Oh man, I forgot who he fought, but
I know who you're talking about. Warhorse.
Warhorse.
Yeah.
I
remember.
I remember something. I remember Warhorse. I don't know.
That was during the COVID era. I'll give them a pass on that. They were just trying things.
Little mini warrior.
Not even close.
Mini renegade.
I'd rather watch the Renegade. It's knockoff Jimmy Hart.
I still remember when Renegade first came down. They were kind of promoing that it was going to be Warrior. Then all of a sudden it changed and it wasn't Warrior anymore. And it was like, and it's Renegade. And he comes running down the ring. He's like this. He's like,
people that dumb.
What the hell is that?
Y'all got the Warrior, we got the Renegade. Y'all got McDonald's, we got McDowell's.
We got McDowell's. You got the Golden Arches, we got the Golden Arcs.
McNoah's.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Might as well end, like you said, you want to end it up on a high note. John,
Yep.
shut us down.
Well, hold on. Before we shut it down, I got to talk about what we talking about next week. Next week is John's choice, and we are taking it back to a WCW show that has never been televised. Finally, he chose this. It doesn't even take place in the month of June, but he said, I want this show, damn it. I want it now. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to fit it in. We're going to take it back to WCW in England. You have to tune in on YouTube to watch.
Free.
I'll run through the card right quick.
What?
We have Johnny B. Bad taking on Scotty Flamingo. Strap. You want to tell people who Scotty Flamingo is?
Quote me, it's Raven.
Nevermore.
Yes. And we have Max Payne, not the video game. Max Payne, Mad Mountain Rock with the guitar, taking on P.S. Michael Hayes.
Whoa. Or as Ahmed Johnson would call him, Mike. Not
Our next match, we have a tag team match. We have Barry Windham and Rick Rude taking on the Natural Dustin Rhodes and Van Hammer.
Van Hammer, I forgot about that dude. My God.
what a waste of contract space.
Our next match, we have the hometown boy. We have Davey Boy Smith, not the British Bulldog. This is actually going to be good because I want to talk about him after SummerSlam 92. We're in 1993 now. We have Davey Boy Smith taking on Vinny Vegas. How
Wow.
you doing? How you doing?
What?
For the World Wrestling Federation Championship at In Your House.
Oh my
got-
God.
We got Big Van Vader taking on my man Cactus Jack Bang Bang.
Oof.
Was this the
No.
one where he went cuckoo?
No,
No.
that was in Munich, Germany.
And then I believe it's your main event. We have
Hope so.
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff taking on Sting.
Oh, thank God.
That's the main event?
I believe so.
I was like-
So, John, why'd you choose this show?
Because it's free. Why did I choose the show? Because I still have. I mean, I have this fascination with WCW in the early '90s. That was your era, kind of, right, Dom?
Yes.
So because between 1990, 91, 92, 93, up until Hogan got there, they just had people coming in, going out, and nothing made sense. And people left. And I mean, if you cover that period, 1990, 91, 92, 93, Lex Luger was in the company and he was out of the company and he was back. Okay, not quite true, but almost. So it's just a curious time for me. So, and they have all the stuff. They have the Spring Stampede, the Beach Blast, and the Clash of the Champions, and some episodes of WCW Saturday Night. So it's filling in the gaps of stuff I don't know. But here's something random: a house show. Like, it's a house show. They filmed it, so it has to have some level of quality to be able to be produced, to be put on not television, but on YouTube for broadcast. So I haven't watched a single bit of it, so I'm very interested to watch it. Kind of like how the WWE Vault on YouTube, they put out amazing things. One thing they put out was an ECW, the WWE ECW house show from the summer of 2006 on WWE Vault on YouTube. And they're showing, the fans lining up, going to the ECW arena. They're all pumped. They're all jacked for the new version of ECW, and we all know what happened with that. But at that moment in time, people were hype for WWECW, and it's awesome. It's just capturing a moment in time and that you might not know about and you were never aware of. So I think it's important to check out this show from WCW at a certain period of time that it's not in the history books because it's a house show. It doesn't count, right? So we're going to watch it. We're going to see how it is. And hopefully doesn't suck. That's the hope.
And hopefully it's still on YouTube by the time I'm done watching.
By the time I'm done talking, hopefully it's still there.
It's on the vault. It's definitely on the vault. So we're gonna check it out, and yeah, the four of us haven't seen it, so it's definitely gonna be pretty interesting. So,
and I think a lot of people didn't see it, so this is going to be interesting for our listeners, viewers, and all our subscribers.
And here's a good thing. Here's the best part. It's not 3 hours.
Nice.
Ta-da!
Even better.
Enjoy your week, folks.
Even better.
There you go.
Even better.
Baba Booey.
Baba booey, baba booey.
all right. Well, BDC, it's your choice. You shut us down.
Lord, why are you doing this to me? Anyway, thank y'all for watching this podcast. As I said, this was one I wanted to take on, so I thank the guys for indulging. And once again, thank y'all on behalf of Strat, on behalf of Platino, on behalf of Dom, and on behalf of myself, thank you, and we will see you again soon.
And happy Father's Day, fellas.
Happy Father's Day indeed. Boo.
This True City!